Morning, NFC East. Good morning, Philadelphia Eagles fans. Your Philadelphia Eagles are the NFC champions in a dominant, and I mean dominant, 31-7 victory over the San Francisco 49ers yesterday. This game was actually tied at one point, Tone Deshields. I don't want to hear who the quarterback was. I don't want to hear about an easy path to the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. It wasn't easy. It was dominant. The Eagles are a dominant football team, and they're going to be facing, in my opinion, who was probably if they weren't the best football team all year, they were definitely in the top two, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I can't wait for this game. I've pretty much watched every Chiefs game since Andy Reid's been there. I don't miss Eagles games. This is going to be an awesome Super Bowl, Tone, and we'll get to the Chiefs in a bit in their game against the Bengals, but I just can't get over how great the Eagles were on Sunday.
Yeah, this is the matchup we all deserve. Eagles, Chiefs, like you said, but the Philadelphia Eagles did their job. I don't want to hear about who was there, who wasn't there. I do not want to hear about who got hurt, who didn't get hurt. I don't want to care about flags going the Eagles' way. I don't want to hear none of that stuff, because before Sunday, there was a lot of 49ers fans in my live chats, in my tweets, in my mentions that had a lot to say. And now they're dead silent, Jeff. The Philadelphia Eagles did their job, 31-7, dominant performance. Was it an ugly game despite the score? Yes, it was an ugly game from beginning, middle to end. But the Philadelphia Eagles managed to take advantage of opportunities. They managed to take advantage of field position when they had it. Haason Reddick, man, forcing turnovers, just wreaking havoc on the first drive like he did in the previous game. Haason Reddick is a man on a mission. I think Haason Reddick is probably the player of the playoffs thus far. Just his ability to impact the game and just create opportunities for others. Man, Jalen Hurts wasn't his best game, wasn't a pretty game. It was pretty hard for him to get going down the field. He looked a little limited. He looked a little hitched in that shoulder. Not really sure what it was. But regardless, he managed to will his team to the win. 31-7, Jeff. I called the game 31-21. But 31-7, I did not see that coming.
I didn't see them win by 24 points against this team. I don't care who the quarterback was, whether it was Brock Purdy or Josh Johnson and look, if you want to play the narrative, all they beat was the third-string quarterback, well, hold on a second. Wasn't this guy like the greatest quarterback in NFL history like 3 days ago? That's what I don't get about.
He was Joe Montana a couple days ago.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
He was Steve Young. He was Joe Montana and Steve Young.
Coming to Tom Brady.
No, you know what he was, Town? He was a rookie quarterback in the NFC Championship game.
His name was Brock Purdy.
Yeah, they usually
How simple was that?
They don't do well, Tone. They don't do well in conference championship games. Ben Roethlisberger couldn't do this. He couldn't go to Super Bowl his rookie year. And he had one of the best rookie years for a quarterback ever. It's hard to do. And I don't think people understand that. And look, Haason Reddick was the difference in that football game. Because the 49ers, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put Tyler Kroft, by the way, a local kid, Tyler Kroft on Haason Reddick, and Kyle Shanahan actually had the balls to say to people, oh, well, the play worked. Brandon Ayuk was open. I didn't see him open. I saw Haason Reddick knock down Brock Purdy and knock Brock Purdy out of the game and injure his UCL in the process. And then they were stuck with their fourth-string quarterback and Josh Johnson and Christian McCaffrey was their emergency quarterback. And we were debating in the press box whether it was Christian McCaffrey or Kyle Juszczyk. That is the staple of the Eagles' defense right there. 78 sacks this year. Getting to the quarterback. This defense, especially the defensive line, just plain dominant all season long, and they were on Sunday. They put their if we want to talk about how great this team is, if they win the Super Bowl, this defensive front, this pass rush by Jonathan Gannon, who has been criticized for not blitzing enough, will be the greatest pass rush of all time. It will be up there with the 85 Bears. It will be up there with the 72 Dolphins. This is how good the Eagles pass rush has been all year. Haason Reddick and those boys made an impact. It's like what Josh Sweat told me Sunday. We were hunting.
I couldn't agree with you more. You laid it out perfectly, Jeff. This is a situation where you kind of saw it coming. And let me tell you why. Obviously, we knew what the Eagles were going to do, but I want to approach it from this angle. The 49ers have always been who they've always been. They continue to be underwhelming at the most important position on the field, and that's the quarterback position. Let's really think about the past few years, and they've tried to address it, but it just seems like when it matters most, they're always underwhelming at the most important position. Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl, he was limited, blew a game, blew a big lead. Then they go and draft Trey Lance. Trey Lance can't stay on the field. Then they have Brock Purdy, limited, then gets hurt. They can't win. Brian Johnson, he comes in, looks terrible, goes out with a concussion. Brock Purdy has to come back in. They've always been underwhelming at that position when it matters most. This is who they've been. And I don't know if it's their style of play. I don't know if it's the medical staff. I don't know what's going on over there in San Francisco. I don't know what kind of water they're drinking. But for some reason, their guys can't stay healthy. First play of the game, Fred Warner goes down. Then you see Nick Bosa hobbling around. You know, it's unfortunate because you don't wish injury on anybody, right? But early, this game started to shift into the Philadelphia Eagles' favor. And the Eagles, I don't think they've sustained any significant injuries. I know Landon Dickerson had a elbow injury towards the end of the game.
He seemed okay in the locker room.
Yeah, you see it. Okay, cool. I know you had the inside scoop, but man, I think about the playoffs and the whole complexion of it, and we always talk about how games take on a personality, right? Games have a pulse, and I went into this game not thinking about stats. This wasn't a stat game. This was going to be a game about getting it done. This was a game about who would make the least amount of mistakes. And that's essentially what happened. San Francisco fumbled the ball 3 times. The Philadelphia Eagles protected the ball, right? So you got to give credit where credit is due all the way around to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts protected the ball. Again, wasn't a beautiful day by him, but he made the throws he needed to make. He completed about 60% of his passes, under his normal average. But again, this is the playoffs. This isn't about what you want to do. This is about doing what you have to do.
A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're not going to remember what Jalen Hurts' numbers were in the NFC Championship game. But you are going to remember Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is the youngest quarterback in the Eagles franchise history to go to the Super Bowl. By the way, him and Patrick Mahomes, shout out. Shout out to both of them, Tone. Youngest quarterback matchup in the history of the Super Bowl.
Awesome.
First pair of black quarterbacks to face off in the Super Bowl.
Beautiful.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, it's awesome. As someone who's talked to Patrick Mahomes a lot, I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for what he was able to do to the Bengals. I am so happy for what Jalen Hurts was able to do to eliminate the doubters, and he still has his doubters. I wrote a column about Jalen Hurts last night. He'll never forget how, and the Eagles PR made it look like he was talking about the fans. It wasn't just the fans. It was the organization too.
Mm-hmm.
They did not want him. They wanted Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz didn't want to be here. Jalen Hurts had an uncertain future at this time 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts is in the Super Bowl. It all worked out in the end because Jalen Hurts made it happen, Tone. But I'm proud of the guy. I really am. You know, you go to the Super Bowl. You're 24 years old. You're a 24-year-old starting quarterback in this league, and you're in the Super Bowl. There's only 7 guys in history to do that. Jalen Hurts will be the 8th. It's what he has been able to do in such a short time at this franchise. It's incredible. It feels like the Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes made it for the first time. You knew he was going to go a lot. I have that feeling with Jalen Hurts. I don't care how much this team's going to change. The Chiefs have changed multiple times in the Patrick Mahomes era. It's an incredible feeling. You feel like it's not going to be the first time, but you want to take advantage of that first time. That's what Jalen Hurts has to do, Tone Deshields, and nobody to do it better than against the baby goat.
Absolutely, man. And another narrative that you forgot to mention: the Kelsey brothers, the first brother duo to face each other in a Super Bowl, man. And you know, That's exciting in itself. So many narratives, attached to the Super Bowl. And you're right. Jalen Hurts has been a guy who's been doubted his entire career, a guy who no one really wanted or no one expected to be in Philadelphia. I know I didn't expect him to be in Philadelphia. I know when he was drafted, a lot of people will love to pretend like they were over the moon about the pick. They weren't. They were confused. They were lost. They were dumbfounded. Some people were flat out pissed off. And you still have a lot of Carson Wentz people in this city. I'll tell you that right now, right?
I don't know why.
And I do not know why, but they still exist. Nonetheless, Jalen Hurts came in, did his job, laid low, didn't make any waves. He allowed everything to come to him as it did, right? Sometimes you can't force things. It'll just come to you naturally. He has a magnetism about about the way he approaches the game, just his approach to the game and his discipline and will to win. There's a magnetism there. Carson Wentz can't get the job done. He goes in. The guys respond. They rally. They get their first win in a long time. That was the 4-11-1 season. He comes back the following year. Carson Wentz doesn't want to compete. Jalen Hurts gets the starting job by default. He has to go out there and work for it. He has to earn the trust of his teammates, his coaches. He takes the team to a 9-8 record, gets them into the playoffs, gets a bounce by the Buccaneers. Not a beautiful outing at all. He had a fairly decent first year as a starter, ups, downs, but we saw flashes. Then he comes in this year after putting in a lot of work in the offseason with quarterback coaches, Tom House, working with his guys, Brian Johnson, and so on and so forth, came in ready to go. And the dude just time and time again, game after game after game, just winning. The dude was just spectacular. And I mentioned this earlier. He doesn't care about stats. That's not the kind of quarterback Jalen Hurts is. He cares about winning the game. Like you said, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, no one's going to remember the numbers. They're going to remember, man, this is the winningest quarterback in Eagles history. This is the quarterback that had us always in Super Bowl contention. Who cares what it looked? People get so wrapped up in the wrapping, the packaging, right? What it looks like. But all I know is wins, no matter what.
All he does is win, Tone.
All he does is win.
I don't get it. Like, who cares how he plays? And
What's
I know
that record, Jeff? What's his record when he starts again?
So
right? He's only lost one game, right?
He's 16-1 and starts this year, and 19-2 in his last 21. That's pretty impressive. It doesn't matter, and that's how guys like Ben Roethlisberger got judged for a long time. He won a lot of games. Tom Brady got judged by wins. I know Tom Brady got a lot of MVPs, but I mean, look, these are the two best players in football this year: Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I'll say this too, Tone. Being in that locker room last night, you kind of soaked it in. Jalen Hurts was soaking it in a little bit last night. Not much, but he had a victory cigar last night.
He took it in, as he should. As he should.
He did by his locker, just kind of sat there by himself, kind of enjoyed the moment. He's not a guy who really enjoys the moment much, but he did, and it was cool to see. And, seeing Jalen Hurts put that smile on his face and realize that they're one game away. He's one game away from accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. I got to get into this a little bit too, Tone. I know we'll be talking about this a lot the next 2 weeks. What are your overall thoughts on Andy Reid?
I was talking about this last night, and the OGs might call me blasphemous for saying this, but, Andy Reid did a lot of good things for Philadelphia. He was productive. He revived the organization along with Jeff Lurie and those guys. He helped revive a dying organization, right? He had the team relevant for a long time. But if I'm going to have the same standard for the 49ers prior to this game, that we can't just give credit for showing up, I got to lay the same thing on Andy Reid while he was in Philadelphia. But there was a lot of disappointing years, even though they made it far. NFC Championship losses, made it to a Super Bowl. I have to be frank about this. I have to be true to how I feel about this, right? Now, granted, I'm 28. I was born in 94. So I'm not digging too deeply when I'm watching the games at that time. I'm not thinking about the nuance. All I know is we won and we lost. And when it mattered most, we lost more than we won. And that, to me, is not enough. So if I'm going to hold the 49ers to that same standard of saying we don't give you credit for just putting your name on a sheet of paper or showing up, I got to say the same thing. I got to do the same thing for Andy Reid. He did a lot of great things for the organization, but we can't immortalize someone for just showing up.
But the standard you have for yourself today is because of him. You got to remember that. And like I said, I respect that. Like, that's not he never won anything here take. You know, look, he got the Eagles. He pretty much set the path for the Eagles to where they are now in terms of building through the trenches, in terms of finding the franchise quarterback, keeping up offensively. All of Jeffrey Lurie's hires essentially have been off the Andy Reid model. Like, the Eagles really did get something right with Andy Reid. And my biggest regret is the Eagles never got a Super Bowl with Andy Reid. They only went to one, and a lot of bad things happened late in the season. I get it. The defense let him down. McNabb would get hurt.
Really quickly, I will say the one model they probably shouldn't have followed was shortchanging the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and they did do that a lot of Reid's early, but getting the wide receivers, the stud wide receivers wasn't a thing then. It was like Kurt Warner had the wide receivers and no one else did. Like, the Patriots were winning with guys like Troy Brown and David Patton, so there was a way to do it back then. It was just a different game. Like, but the Eagles learned. The Eagles learned throughout the course of time, but Andy Reid did set the standard for what Philadelphia Eagles football is today. And a lot of people got upset last night when I said to Devin Caney, look, the Eagles were a joke before Reid got here. And someone tried pulling the 6 playoff appearances in 11 years before Reid got here. I'm like, oh, yeah, but they really were Super Bowl contenders in all those years. No, the Cowboys were always better. Washington was always better. The Giants were always better. The franchise was a joke. It was. Like, your last championship was 1960. You didn't even really smoke a championship unless you count the Dick.
This is where I give you credit.
Yeah.
This is where I give you credit, Jeff. For being a historian, right? For really being locked in, and also you're a little older than me, and you were aware enough to really understand the nuance and what was going on, and what they had, what they didn't have, and roster construction, and the dynamic between the coaches and culture and all that kind of stuff. And again, this is not an opportunity for me to disrespect Andy Reid, right? He laid
I don't
a
think
foundation.
you're disrespecting him anyway.
Yeah, for sure. He laid a foundation, right? I would agree with that without a shadow of a doubt. He gave Jeffrey Lurie kind of like a roadmap to how you want your teams to be built. I'll definitely give him that. But again, I just want to be consistent and hold everybody to the same amount of fire. Andy Reid, yes, productive in the Eagles organization. But if I'm going to say to the 49ers, you cannot get credit for just showing up. I have to do the same thing for Andy Reid. But like you said, the organization was a joke prior to the 21st century. Overall, it was a joke, right? We had good years.
We had moments.
Good defenses. Moments, right? But the 21st century from 2000 up until now wasn't moments. It was a plethora of opportunities to win. Longevity, respect. The Eagles, whether people want to realize it or not, maybe in the national circles in the media, you feel like the Eagles don't get respect. But as far as ownership, groups, and so on and so forth, the Eagles are one of the more respectable organizations in the NFL.
Yeah, and like I always said, moments, right? So the Dick Vermeil era, I feel like he changed the culture of the franchise too, but he didn't sustain it. They went to the Super Bowl and they didn't win a playoff game. Then Dick left because of the strike, and just kind of got out of coaching. And Marion Campbell just destroyed everything Dick Vermeil built, so it was gone. Chip Kelly didn't destroy everything Andy Reid built. I mean, he tried to, but Jeffrey Lurie was smart enough to get rid of him. Yeah, but the reason the Eagles could hire such a high-profile coach like Chip Kelly was because Andy Reid made them a top-tier franchise. And look, Andy Reid did with the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes, what he wanted to do with the Eagles. He tried his butt off to get Russell Wilson. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't happen. Got Nick Foles, who I know. Yeah, again, we're playing the Marvel what-if game here, but he did get the guy he wanted in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, and look how dominant he is. I mean, the Chiefs are the model franchise in the NFL now. They're the team that you gloss over and be like, why can't we be like the Chiefs? Well, because Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's a dangerous combination, Tone, and the Eagles are playing that model franchise in the Super Bowl. It's going to be a fun time. Eagles fans and Chiefs fans are going to pack Glendale. I think Chiefs fans are really excited for beating the Bengals. That was kind of their Super Bowl, being Burrowhead. Travis Kelce, you're the freaking man, by the way. Oh, man. Sure. Frank Clark's the man. Is Mike Gill here yet, Tony Shields?
Oh man, what if I told you he was? If we're going to play the what if game.
Yeah.
Shout out to our guy Mike Gill for always coming in for us, man. You guys, this is Good Morning NFC East. He's Jeff Kerr. I'm your guy, Tone Deshields II. Next up is Mike Gill from 97.3 ESPN, the Sports Bash in South Jersey. I can't wait to hear this man bring the pain on Good Morning NFC East. Keep it locked, you guys.